Hi, this is your Swapnil Bhatia, and we are back with our yearly video protection series. And today we have with us David Loker, VP of AI at CodeRabbit. David, it's great to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me.
It's my pleasure. This is protection series, but this is the first time we have CodeRabbit on the show. So I would love to know a bit about the company. And since we are at the beginning of 2026, what are the core problems you folks are looking at solving as we head into this year?
Yeah, so CodeRabbit is an AI-generated code review platform that prevents AI slop from making its way into production. So we are the guardrails against AI-generated code. And so I would say our predictions for 2026 center around the idea that 2025 was about how fast can we generate code and the productivity gains that people and companies were able to see through code generation. And that shift that's going to happen this year into how confident can we be in the code that we're shipping and focusing more on ensuring quality of that code.
Excellent. Thank you. Now it's time for you to grab your crystal ball and share your predictions with us.
Yeah, so I think in 2026, my first shift, I would say, would be that companies are going to be tracking different AI-related metrics than they've been tracking so far. So I think companies are going to be formally tracking AI defect metrics instead of just treating AI-generated bugs as anecdotal. Organizations should start to track them with the same rigor used for security incidents or system reliability. So metrics like AI attributed regression rates, incident severity, linked to AI generated code changes, and review confidence scores should probably be added to the engineering dashboards. So for the second one, I'd say the use of third-party tools, right, to validate AI code. So organizations should start to see them adopt more third-party tools designed specifically to validate their coding agents and production systems. So these tools can act as independent safeguards, right, offering objective assessments of code quality and catching issues that are generated by the agents and that they cannot reliably detect. So enterprises should increasingly view external third-party tools for validation as an essential risk mitigation rather than optional tooling. And so another one, I think, using multi-agent workflows to validate code. So you can think of multi-agent workflows as sort of a continuous view of no, let me start that one over again. So instead of a single agent generating code and hoping for correctness, I think companies are going to start to use multi-agent workflows to validate code. So you have a one agent writing the code, you have another one critiquing, another one that's testing that code, and yet another one that's validating compliance and sort of architectural alignment. So those chains are going to actually reduce the cognitive burden that happens on developers, as well as raise the certainty that the code that's entering into production is actually safe, stable, and coherent. And so my fourth prediction is that we're going to be seeing a lot more about governance around how AI is being used. So as quality becomes the defining factor, the defining priority in these engineering organizations, teams are going to start building structured governance around how AI is used. So organizations should introduce explicit policies on acceptable AI usage, documentation requirements, and review expectations.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing these predictions. What are some of the biggest challenges or bottlenecks you feel organizations will face this year when they try to adopt these AI technologies?
So some of the biggest bottlenecks and challenges, is that what you're asking? Sorry. Yeah. So I'd say one of the biggest bottlenecks or challenges that's going to be the companies are going to be met with over this next year is attribution is much harder than adoption. Teams can measure usage very easily, but reliably attributing outcomes, so regressions, incidents, security exposure to AI-assisted changes requires instrumentation, right? And most orgs don't have that instrumentation yet. So without this, quality conversations stay anecdotal and budgets get tighter. Another is that review capacity hits the human ceiling, right? So AI increases throughput and the size of diffs, but review doesn't scale linearly. So one of them is attribution, right? Attribution is harder than adoption. So teams can measure usage very easily, but reliably attributing downstream outcomes like regressions or incidents or security exposure to AI-assisted code changes requires instrumentation. And most orgs don't have that yet. And without that, quality conversations are going to stay anecdotal. So that's one of the big challenges. Two is that review capacity hits a human ceiling, right? So we have more and more throughput, that and the diff volume is getting larger and larger. And so human review doesn't scale in that way. So AI authored code is actually more cognitively demanding to review, and that's becoming a bigger challenge. I would say also existing quality assurance gates aren't aligned to deal with AI. So many of these pipelines were built with human paced change and not AI amplified change. So CodeRabbit's findings, for example, in a report we just authored not that long ago, showed that there's 1.7x more issues with, for example, logical and correctness bugs using AI assisted code generation. And so this large scale problem is we're not capable of handling it using traditional techniques. As a last challenge, I'll say that governance is lagging in reality. So adoption is widespread at this point. Adoption of AI generated code is widespread, but governance is not. And so people are going to have to really figure out what they want to do and sort of instituting those guardrails against for how people should be using AI, and what are the methodology they should be using, and how should we be measuring the actual downstream impacts of AI, and what is it we want to do when it comes to adopting these systems rather than just purely looking at throughput.
And what are some of the big opportunities that will arise this year from these challenges, this move to AI?
Yeah, so I think this year is going to be the year of adopting AI tools when it comes to quality and guardrails. I think one of the biggest opportunities when you do that, when you start measuring the actual downstream outcomes of AI generated code, you start to see and leverage those other tools to not only ensure that you're increasing the pace of productivity, but you're actually doing so not at a detrimental cost. And so you're not only seeing increased productivity, but you're actually seeing an increase in quality.
What actionable advice you have for enterprise leaders? Because in past we have seen every time new technology, new paradigm shift happen, everybody get overly excited and we overhire, we over procure, and then we try to course correct, and then the firing happen, layoffs happens, and a lot of adjustment starts, which can be counterproductive since the beginning of the year, and a lot of things people are getting started with. So what is your advice? What should they start doing right now to be ready?
We need to start instrumenting and measuring AI impact, right? We need to start tracking AI attributed defect rates. We need to look at the severity of those issues. We need to come up with how confident we are in the reviews that are happening, and tracking production regressions and understanding how AI is impacting those. If we can start measuring those, we can start understanding exactly how AI is impacting our organization rather than just sort of hiring less and using AI for pure throughput. We need to understand the impacts of that. So one, that's something that should be done immediately across any organization that's thinking about adopting AI into their workflow. The other is we need to deploy context-aware automated review tooling. So investments in AI code review solutions that integrate deeply with the repositories and the workflows of any organization, and ones that can understand the code base and enforce quality standards like security and design patterns. So that's an absolute necessity as you're bringing more and more people onto using code generation platforms. And I think you need to normalize the multi-agent layered validation. So again, formalizing workflows where one agent codes, another critiques, another tests, and then another vets compliance. That pattern reduces risk and spreads accountability across all of these automated checks. And you need to build AI governance, right? And usage policy, deliver and define clear policies on when AI tools can be used, the requirements when it comes to documentation, the expectations as far as review are concerned, and escalation paths when things go wrong, so that we understand why they went wrong and what we can do to mitigate that in the future. So treating AI usage like code ownership, right? Not just experimentation, not just this cool thing that we're doing, but actually treating it as the tool that it is and how effective it is, and making sure that we have those governance policies in place. And then we need to train teams on AI review literacy. So as we're going forward and we're using these AI tools to help with our reviews, we need targeted training so that people can understand and interpret that AI feedback spotting the subtle logic, security failures that are happening, and again, optimizing that human AI collaboration.
What is going to be yours as well as the company's focus or priorities this year to help customers navigate this future?
Yeah, so CodeRabbit provides pull request level analysis that catches real issues early. We generate summaries. We look at the conversation context into review threads, and we're turning PRs into collaborative quality checkpoints, not just merge points. And so we're going to continue to educate and continue to bring that high quality bar into more and more organizations over the course of this year as people turn from throughput into more of a quality control viewpoint. I think we provide metrics and visibility into those quality outcomes we were talking about earlier, and being able to tell what is happening as a result of incorporating AI code generation into our workflows. So we're enabling engineering teams to actually quantify AI related risks and quality signals through dashboards. We're helping leaders move beyond sort of anecdotal evidence to actual decision ready data that they can actually point to and figure out what's going on in their code base.
David, thank you so much for joining me and share your predictions with us. I didn't want to put you under pressure, but I would love to have you back on the show at the end of the year to check how many of your predictions turn out to be true and to get new set of predictions. But I really appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks very much for having me.